Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Admiral James A. Winnefeld, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Quiet! Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm doing my Ray Odierno impression. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure this evening for me to be among this distinguished audience and to have the opportunity to honor a very close friend and a first-rate general officer. I would tell you that of all the good fortune that has followed me around the world, I consider none better than to have had Phil Breedlove as a colleague and a friend. I've known Phil, since the dawn of our military careers, when we were students, fraternity brothers, and friends at the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta. There you go. Go Jackets. While I can assure you that neither of us imagined that 4 decades later we would be in the positions in which we are privileged to serve today, I can tell you for certain that our friends way back then did predict that at least Phil would be successful. Now, Fred was very kind. He said he'd give me an extra 5 minutes if I could come up with some dirt on Phil. But I think that there's three reasons actually why I shouldn't do that. First of all, the night isn't getting any younger. Second of all, Phil's lovely wife Cindy is with us tonight. And third, Phil gets the last word. So I think I'll just leave it at that. But what an amazing journey for two college buddies to be here with heads of state, business leaders, and country music stars. When I first met Phil, like everyone else, I was taken by his friendly southern drawl, his sharp intellect, his easy sense of humor, and his outgoing personality. It's impossible to not like Phil, and I saw this from day one. That said, we've sometimes found ourselves in very senior forums on opposite sides of a tough issue, with gusto. But no matter the resolution, 2 steps outside the room, and Phil and I are back to the old days. Now, the Atlantic Council recognizes leaders who best represent the pillars of the transatlantic partnership. And so it's right and proper that they selected Phil for making such exceptional contributions as a military leader to freedom across the Atlantic and around the world. At every point in his career, Phil has built trust and fostered relationships in important positions of responsibility in Europe and Asia, but none more strategically important than those he has skillfully developed among his NATO partners, and particularly in the very last year that has been so difficult with all of the new challenges, the re-emerging challenges that are facing the alliance today. Of course, his position as SACEUR dates back to General Dwight David Eisenhower, who once said, "Our real problem is not our strength today, but it's rather the vital necessity of action today to ensure our strength tomorrow." Well, Phil advocates for both of those, today and tomorrow, each and every day, with a virtuoso blend of energy, intellect, and collegiality. He's an extraordinary leader with high moral character and unflinching dedication to the people and relationship that propel his mission. And most importantly, he has a deep passion for the men and women, regardless of nationality, who serve the cause of freedom everywhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my very great privilege to present the Atlantic Council's Distinguished Military Leadership Award to my dear friend and colleague, General Philip Breedlove.
Okay, Sandy, thank you for that introduction. I must say one always worries a little when his college fraternity brother starts talking about him in public. What an honor it is to have such a great American and a true friend here tonight. Sandy, you know how highly I respect you. I will tell you that Sandy is brilliant. When we were at Georgia Tech, I studied hard to get my B's and C's, and Sandy drank a lot of beer in red Solo cups. And he got straight A's, so I don't know. It is an honor to serve with such a fine leader and a great friend, and thank you, Sandy. Governor Huntsman, Fred, thank you for all your efforts in continuing to promote transatlantic unity. This amazing institution is doing incredible work every day. Additionally, allow me to extend my congratulations and my appreciation to Ms. Marilyn Hewson, Mr. Toby Keith, and President Ghani. As a NATO commander with troops in Afghanistan who are supporting the Afghan security forces as they build a strong and secure future for the Afghan people, it's a particular honor to share this evening with Mr. Ghani's thoughts and his daughter, Miriam. It's always humbling to be recognized for simply doing what I love with the people that I love. Being a part of this particular group is, well, it's a pretty big deal for a Georgia boy whose father, who I love, graduated from the 5th grade. It's also humbling considering the previous recipients of this award. None is more important in my mind, nor dear to me, than the 2012 winners, the enlisted men and women of our armed forces. I was going to ask you to do that with me in a couple of sentences, but we'll just get it over with now. Maybe we'll do it again. Without these great people and without the sacrifices that they and their families make every day all around the globe, the freedom we enjoy would flat not be possible. So let's give them another hand. As you know, the freedoms our military men and women are protecting, together with our transatlantic allies and partners, we're now facing renewed challenges by those who would use violence and alter international norms, boundaries, and institutions. In Europe, chief among these is a revanchist Russia, embarked on a far-reaching revision of what once were shared hopes for a stable and mutually beneficial partnership. A quarter of a century ago, the dark days of the Cold War gave way to the fall of the Berlin Wall and all it represented. In its place emerged genuine hope for a new friendship, a new partnership, and the prospect of a Europe whole, free, at peace, and prosperous. We broke with confrontation and pursued a policy of cooperation. And for a long time, many of us believed that Russia would also embrace that cooperation. But as we look back, there were clear signs that Russia was on a different path. In the early 1990s, Russia stoked separatist tensions in enclaves of its newest neighbors, Georgia and Moldova. In 2007, Russia suspended observance of the Conventional Forces in Europe Treaty. In 2008, Russian forces invaded Georgia. All along, Russia continued to clamp down on the freedoms of its own people. All of these were signals of a changing Russia, breaking with the principles and the values of the West. Through it all, we remained optimistic and continued to treat Russia as a valued and trusted partner. But last year, this optimism faded. Russia's actions against Ukraine, both this year and last, have signaled a clear end to what I see as 2 decades of internal Russian struggle over security policy. They have shown that Russia is on a far different course, one that shifts the relationship between Russia and the West from one of strategic cooperation to one of strategic competition, one that employs all the elements of national power, one that is not a temporary aberration, but a new norm, one that reflects a long-term commitment sustained by long-term plans for their resource allocation. This is a Russia that recognizes strength and sees weakness as an opportunity. This strategic competition requires a new mindset and a new approach. The U.S. and NATO must adapt, and I'm happy to report that we are adapting. The stakes are high, but we should not shy away from that because, frankly, Russia is not shying away from that. We must keep the dialogue open with Russia, but we must talk from a position of strength. We must embrace cooperation wherever our mutual interests align, but we must also ensure that we are ready to compete. We have always competed well, and this time should be no different. Our alliance is strong, and it gives us the ability to compete successfully against current and future challenges. Winning this strategic competition and preserving the international order we have all worked so hard to build means a number of things. It means challenging Russia's current policies and demonstrating that Putin's current approach will not be allowed to damage our security. It means deterring Russia by carefully shaping Moscow's choices and managing Putin's confidence. And it means continuing to lead courageously as an alliance and as a nation. The great news is that our alliance is rock solid. We are standing together. At the Wales summits, the alliance recommitted itself to collective defense in the face of any threat. The Warsaw Summit will equally be important in shaping our alliance's future. As we look toward Warsaw and beyond, it is imperative that we hold firm, united, and resolved. We must communicate our interests and policies clearly, in words and in actions. We must lead along the path that dissuades and deters Russia. And all the while, we must leave the door open for Russia's return as a nation that respects and abides by international norms, a contributor to Europe's security and prosperity. We look forward to that day. Russia has everything to gain. The fact that we are engaging in this frank conversation keeps me hopeful that we will reach that day. The Atlantic Council plays a powerful role in energizing the dialogue, sharpening our thinking, and pointing towards solutions. Because of your efforts and the collective efforts of many of those with us tonight, this important conversation is occurring in our own government, in multilateral arenas, in think tanks, and throughout the NATO alliance. Our debates, our resolve, our unity give me great hope. I'm very proud to be here. I thank you for this award and for all you do for the Transatlantic Alliance. On behalf of all those who serve, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, civilians, and families, yes, our families, on behalf of all of them, I thank you for all you do.